Hey, what's up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of, man, I almost said Path to Mastery podcast. That's what we called it for so long, and then we changed it to the Persistent Entrepreneur podcast. So we still have that foundational Path to Mastery, because I think we're always on Path to Mastery, Katarina. But man, now we're just talking about the persistency and what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, David.
Absolutely. And today we'll talk about one of a topic that I believe is very, very important for all of us, not just as entrepreneurs, but in life, in period, right? Whether we want to be good at sports, giving a presentation, whatever it is doubt, that self-doubt, that limiting belief. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to have this conversation with you today,
Yeah.
Katarina.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it? Tell us, you know what, I'll let you do the honors. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, and why'd you get started in this space?
Okay. So I'm in Stockholm now, originally from the UK, London and Cambridge. I spent 12 years in the States. I love the States. Most of my clients come from there. And it took me 20 years to discover that I was an entrepreneur. And I didn't give up. I went from teacher to psychotherapist. I was extremely successful as a psychotherapist. And most people would have said, oh my God, Katarina, just keep going. But I was angry because I knew my core values. I knew what I was worth. And I didn't give up until I expressed myself as an entrepreneur and helped entrepreneurs. So that's me.
Why tell me, like, for all of our listeners, why did you think it took 20 years? Why so
Well,
long?
yeah, that's a long time, but I'm somebody who never gives up. I was like soul driven, spirit driven. I just was searching until I found my tribe, basically Income Builders International in the States with Bernie Dorman. I don't know if you know of them. It's CEO Space now, but there people would ask each other, what's your wow? I think it's a great question. What's your
What's
wow?
your
Yeah.
wow?
Wow. What's your
Wow,
wow idea?
WOW?
Wow idea for an entrepreneur? I mean, that's what
Oh,
we should be asking each other in school instead of,
oh,
what's your stuff?
WEI is what it
No.
is.
Uh, du- so WOW.
Oh, it
What's
is.
your
I thought you said
wow?
wild idea
Your
for
wow
entrepreneur.
idea. Yeah. So
Okay.
I was the wow finder there. So we would ask each other, "What's your wow?" And I would ask something, and somebody would come say, "Look, I know I'm an entrepreneur, but I have no idea what my wow is. What's yours, Katarina?" And I said, "Hey, you're talking to the right person because in 4 hours I can find your wow."
Hmm.
And we're like, "Oh, nobody can do that." And I'm going, "Test me. If you're not 100% happy, you don't pay me. That's it. 4 hours."
I
And
love that guarantee, by the way. That's a
yeah,
great guarantee.
I think we should guarantee because there's so much hype out there and there's so many promises that people do not keep. And that's totally out of integrity. For me, finding your purpose, your driving purpose, finding out who you are, what you're up to in the world, where you're going in the world, how you're going to do it is essential. We should all know that. When you ask a person, who are you? They say, well, this is my name, this is my address, this is my job. That's not who they are.
Hmm. So how would you answer that if I said, "Who are you,
Okay.
Katarina?"
I would say I'm a purpose-driven entrepreneur transforming the world.
Hmm.
Yeah. Not only schools, but I have a foundation. We're transforming schools. We have trainings for teachers and principals, but not only that, but transforming people's lives who are miserable, who are lost, who've gone through school, who've passed the tests, who've gone through university even, but they get to a stage when they're 40, 50, and they say, you can call it midlife crisis, if you will. But they say, is this all there is? I have a top job. I have a great salary, but I feel empty inside. I don't feel I'm contributing. I don't know who I am really. I'm married to a wonderful woman. We have children, but you know, I'm at work. Sometimes it gets toxic. Sometimes I feel I'm not aligned with the vision of my work. But who am I? What am I supposed to do? I thought I would figure it out by this time.
Wow. Well, I think a lot of people, Katarina, are probably thinking the same thing you just said, right? And so the good news is, hey, you know what? It's not too late. I tell people, I'm 55. I probably kind of figured things out. You know, I thought I knew things at 50 and 45, but now I think I'm just starting to kind of figure things out. But just to let our listeners know a little bit about you, you've worked over 2,000 entrepreneurs, right? You've helped them navigate the odds and figure out their purpose in their wow. You've also been featured in many magazines, as well as Businesswoman Today. You're a global mentor, and you are actually were you as a UN global speaker. Talk to when you say a UN global speaker. What exactly is that? Is that for the United Nations, like the UN?
United Nations, exactly. It's mostly in Nigeria, and we talk to. I love Africa. I love where Africa is going. Africa is a gold mine, and we have exploited Africans. We have used Africans as slaves, and it's now time for them to be in their, what shall I say, in a nation of gold. It's time for them to find their gold within and express themselves as entrepreneurs. So I help them find their wow, basically. I find them, but I also help them find their sabotage strategy, which is very, very important. We all have one, and it's not our fault that we've been dumbed down at school. We have been, according to Dr. George Land. We have been dumbed down. So we start school enthusiastic, like, oh, my teacher's going to discover who I am and how brilliant I am. That's what school should be doing. Educare is to bring out the brilliance. It's not to stuff in information. We live in a world of information. So, yeah, I've kind of gone off track now. So
No, it's perfect. So I want to jump into our listeners, entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople. You talked about obviously doubt is what we're talking about, but you mentioned a sabotage strategy is what I wrote down. What is talk to us about a sabotage strategy? Then I want to get into how doubt is connected to that.
Doubt is absolutely connected, and fear, of course, is connected to it.
Fear.
We all have a sabotage strategy, and the people who've succeeded, the 5% who succeed in the first 5 years of business, have found their sabotage strategy, and they've reinvented it to a success strategy. So, what is it? It's the most negative. It's based on 3 levels. The first one is your identity. It's the most negative statement we've ever made about ourselves. Now, if that's not reinvented, that haunts us the whole of our lives, in our business, in our health, in our relationships, everywhere. So it's very, very powerful. And by the way, it may have been true at one point, but it's a lie. How do I know it's a lie? Because it may have been true at one point, but you can ask yourself, has it always been true about me? For example, some people say, I am worthless. That's not a good start for an entrepreneur. I am worthless. If you're worthless, how can you help other people? So, but a lot of people think like that. So, have you always been worthless? No, right? Were you worthless at that particular point in time? Is that how you felt? Yes, I felt that way. Okay, so in the future, will you always be worthless? Well, no, I can't say that. So it's a lie. So that in my entrepreneurial consultation, which takes 4 hours, we go deep into that and we go, okay, so what's the truth? Well, I really feel I have a lot to contribute. So it would be something like we would create a statement, an I am statement, because that is absolutely paramount. If you don't know who you are,
I have a question. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm struggling a little bit with the worthless thing, and I'll tell you why. Because I think most of the people that listening to our podcast are not going to identify with that. But what are some of the things that somebody who isn't an entrepreneur role, who's kind of running a business, maybe they're not at their potential, obviously. I don't know that we ever all will be completely, but what are some of the things that they're saying to themselves, maybe that are less extreme than I'm worthless? But you know what I'm talking about, like the little things that people say that hold them back.
One of them is I can't do it, or I'm not good enough, or I don't have the skills. I mean, there are so many. I mean, it's countless, and if those thoughts plague us, they influence every area of our life. So, yeah, worthless is quite extreme, but you'd be surprised. I mean, it's just what we do is we take you to one point in your life. Everybody at some point in their lives have felt worthless or have felt lost, for example. And that needs to be turned around. The second level is to do with action. And it's to do with I'm not capable. I really don't know. I don't have the skills that I should really have for my job. I think I'm faking it. Things like that. Totally. I mean, it may seem very powerful. It may seem just, well, these are things that everybody, talks about. But once you turn these thoughts around, once you turn your habit around, for example, it could be self-doubt, it could be procrastination. Once you turn that around, your whole life turns around.
I agree with that. I mean, I'll tell you some of the things I hear, like I'm not a salesperson. Like I'm just not a good salesperson
Yes.
naturally. I'm not good with follow-up, oh my gosh, I'm just not a very good negotiator. I mean, those are the types of things that I think just hold a lot of people back too. And again, it's not, maybe somebody does deep down think they're worthless. I hope not, but I'm sure there are people. But I think those are the things that we hear, on the surface level, are some of those types of things. I think and again, I don't. This is your space, not mine. But I would imagine somebody that walks around feeling like they're worthless is not running a business.
It may be in the back of their minds, but you're absolutely right, David. A lot of people, for example, one of the bonus offers I have to give my clients once they take the Entrepreneurial Blueprint consultation is that I help them define whether they are visionary entrepreneurs, organizational entrepreneurs, or marketing entrepreneurs. Because I've met one person that was visionary and a pretty good marketer. But I've met nobody yet who was exceptional in all three areas. So we are born, I'm a born visionary entrepreneur. Okay, so what does that mean? So it means I'm very, very strong in ideas. I'm very, very creative. However, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales, when it comes to organization, I have been weaker. But it's really powerful to recognize that, because then I can hire people who are great marketers, or I can up my skills in marketing. But you're absolutely right. There are so many people who have brilliant ideas and say, I don't know how to market. I'm lousy at sales. But the thing is, it's not their fault. They're probably born a visionary. They're born an organizer, and they're, that's not their core skill, right? So yes, you're absolutely right about. But we need all three. We need all three to run a business. We need to be highly organized, great marketers, and great visionaries.
So I'm glad you said that, because it is probably one of the biggest challenges that a lot of entrepreneurs deal with, is wearing every hat in their business, and they're trying to do things that they're really not, because to say, hey, I'm not very good at sales, maybe you just aren't, because you're super, you don't like to push it all. You're and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's basically what you're saying is just awareness, like, hey, I need to find somebody that's a little more aggressive in those areas than me, that's a little more has a little more charisma, whatever it is. It is, I guess, there's that fine line between you're just acknowledging, like, hey, here's an area where I don't have all the strengths, but like you said, I've got tons of strengths as a visionary, I got tons of strengths in organization, but I need someone else to fill the gaps in some of these other areas. So that's different than saying, oh my gosh, my life sucks, everything's so terrible, right? It's just more of an awareness, I guess. I don't know.
Absolutely, it's an awareness. And for example, I've worked with a man who was a visionary entrepreneur, but his wife was very organizational, and that is a bit of a challenge, because the wife had a great job, very organizational, very skilled, and was earning more than him. And he kept coming up with idea after idea after idea, but not making any money. And so she was the breadwinner, but she, loved him very much, but she resented being the breadwinner, actually. She resented it. She wanted him to be successful as well, equally successful. So that is a little bit of a dilemma. But what we did is, once the wife knew that she was organizational, organizers tend to be wonderful at organization, but also slightly controlling. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but they know what systems and structure should be in place, and they like it to be handled, and that's what we need. We need to know exactly when we need to be at the airport, and our luggage, etc., etc. So organizers are very good at that, but organizers tend to not understand visionaries, because visionaries come up with idea after idea after idea. But in this case, what we did is, the husband took the Entrepreneurial Blueprint consultation, and then he chose one idea and stayed with it. And she was very happy about that. So that works. So if you're listening right now and that's your situation, then it is a bit tricky. The other way around, it works with the wife who's visionary and the husband is organizational. If he supports her, organizes her vision, it works perfectly.
And I'm assuming purpose falls in there too, right? Like once that
purpose is everything, David.
Figures out what it is like they really want to do.
Yeah, their driving purpose. You have to know who you are, what you're up to, and where you're going. But your driving purpose is going to get you up every single day to keep going, to persist, to have the courage to persist.
Just on an aside, have you read Andy Andrews' book, The 7 Decisions? Are you familiar?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I haven't actually read it. So yeah,
it's a great book. But his 7th decision is persist without exception. And when you just said that, it reminded me of, because I'm actually listening to the book again. I listened to it probably 7 or 8 years ago, and I'm going through it again and going through the whole he's got every chapter ends with, you have to write notes and journal. And so, but one of the things he said, and kind of is, you always take full responsibility for your past, no matter what.
Yes,
And
yes,
and
yes.
I agree with that. Um, but it was weird because I caught myself saying, "Well, but hold on. When I was a child, I didn't have any responsibility for what my parents did and all those things that happened to me." But then at some point, you do have control and you can take responsibility. Do you think? But in my mind, I'm like, well, he should still clarify that, right? Like, because the way he's written is like all the way back. Like, you have to take full responsibility. Do I? Can I take responsibility for the things my parents put me through as a kid?
I think that's a great question. And as a psychotherapist, it's an essential question. We can blame our parents, we can blame our past, but we're always then going to be victims. That's the price we pay. But if we go back and say, well, I was a child, I was just 4 years old, 5 years old, and that happened. Well, but did I create it? And the painful answer is yes. I created this. Why? I mean, I was a little child. Was I responsible for, for example, if my father beat me? I'm not responsible for his actions, but I did create my reality. And some people, David, some of the most successful people in the world were abused as children. But they've forgiven themselves for creating it. They've taken responsibility and they've moved on,
Mm.
because our past does not equal our future.
Well, I I am that guy that went through a very difficult childhood with my father, and ironically, I read that this morning in my study time, and then here I am on this with you, and so that's why the question even came out, because there was a little bit of the, because I'm the first guy that says I'll take full responsibility for everything, but there was that part of me like, well, but I can't take responsibility for that, right? But then, as you just said it, there were some things even I did as a kid that, maybe I didn't have the greatest father, but probably some of the things I was doing with a normal father, I probably would have got a spanking or something, or at least reprimanded. But with my father, it was a different extreme level, right? But so anyway, it's just interesting. I don't want to go crazy
But
off on a
it's a very
tangent.
important point, David, because we can go through life as victims and blame our parents and blame the past, or we can turn it around and say,
Mm.
okay, yes, children create their reality. They do. We all create our reality. Children are very, very powerful in many ways. They may be little, and okay, if you have a 6-foot dad beating you, it's not your fault. His behavior is not your fault. Absolutely. There's a big distinction between that and you creating your reality. But if we own it and say, well, it wasn't my fault, but I did create that in some way, yes, then you can move on.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you. Let's talk about doubt, right?
Doubt.
Doubt, yeah, doubt, the big D word. Uh, uh, yeah, just how tell us why is it does doubt show up, and why does it affect so many people in not just in their business but in their lives, their relationships, their everywhere.
Well, that's a great question, David. I mean, doubt plagues us all. Why? I mean, if you look at little children, if they're just observed and and allowed to be creative, children are operating at 98% brilliance, creative genius. Dr. Land from NASA did his NASA research on 1,600 children. And that's where they're operating. 98% creative genius. By the time these same children are 12 years old, or teenagers, I should say, it's down to 12%.
Wow.
By the time that's shocking, isn't it?
That is shocking.
These same children become adults, it's down to 2%. There you have it. We are programmed, we are dumbed down in schools, and the dumb downing creates self-doubt. Why? Because we sit, we listen to our teacher, and we're told, oh, that wasn't good enough, and or you can't do that, or I've had report after report after report, and I've been a teacher myself, and there's so many teachers who write, he can do better, she can do better. Well, of course we can, but do we want to? That's the point. So imagine if the 98% creative genius was maintained and augmented all the way through school. Wouldn't we be amazing? Now, we've been through school, most of us. So we've created this self-doubt. But I want to tell our listeners today, it's not your fault if you doubt yourself. And that is probably in your sabotage strategy. Turn it around, because it's not real. It's based on fear. And you can change it.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I am curious to what though, and then I want to talk about some ways to eliminate the doubt. But why is it 98%, not 100%? What's the difference between the 98% and 100%?
Well, this is an average. I mean, not every child is 100% creative genius. This research was conducted by teachers. So I would be amazed if it was 100%, but 98% is like good enough for me.
Well, it's funny that, so here's kind of a weird, so I'm a trainer and a coach. And so I feel like 98% absolutely is great, but the 100% is that's like the highest level.
That's right.
Like
That's
I look at
yeah.
The Rock as an example, is one of the people I look up to, Dwayne Wade, The Rock. Like, to me, that guy has 100% confidence, certainty where he shows up. But I feel like even at 98, 98 is super high, probably higher than most of the people in the world, the population, but there's still a little tiny bit of doubt. Do you think that little tiny bit of doubt still creeps in? Is that what we're talking about today? Am I just being a stickler today?
No, but you are an Ironman athlete, and
yes,
an Ironman athlete cannot have any doubts, right? It's like, I'm going to do it. I don't care what the challenges are. I am going to do it, right? So you have 100% certainty. But David, we are also human beings, So yes, sometimes we're operating at 100% and sometimes 98%. But I mean, what I mean is, it's way better than 2%.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, hello, and I mean, we look around our world and we look at our leaders, and the 2% makes sense, doesn't it? 2%.
Well, no. What do you mean? What do you mean the 2% makes sense when you say look at our leaders?
Well, okay. So let's say that Dr. George Land's research was absolutely correct. Then we've all been through that. And we may not all have gone down to 2% creative genius when we're adults. But hey, I mean, you know, David, what's happening in the world. You know what's happening in the States. You know where our leaders are. And I'm not going to mention any names, but
Yeah.
hey, you know, honestly, where, I mean, apart from Kennedy, who's the most inspiring, visionary leader in the world right now? Well, Tony Robbins, maybe you can say. But I mean,
Oh, yeah. From
yeah,
personal development perspective, I mean, sure. Well, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't want to go into the political conversation. So sorry to.
no.
Uh, I think what I'm getting at though is you know, I think people operate. Everybody, I guess, to your point, and what I'm taking from this is everybody has a little bit of self doubt, right? It's just a
Sure.
matter of what they do with it.
Yeah,
Maybe even The Rock has self doubt. I don't know. The way he shows up, he's just like, I don't care, because that's what I do sometimes. Like you mentioned training for an Ironman race. Well, I did a 2-hour bike ride on Saturday. During that 2-hour bike ride, there were at least 3 or 4 times I said, I don't even know why I'm doing this. This is stupid. This is like, what's the point? Right. But I just kept going. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to make it another 15 minutes. And so I think we all deal with it to some capacity, correct?
absolutely. We have those thoughts. It's how we deal with those thoughts. Are we going to stop or are we going to keep going? Because the inner saboteur wants us to stop. It wants us to play small and safe. But the
Mm.
thing is, it's in our comfort zone and we die in our comfort zone. We become weak. Our lives become meaningless.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So give us give us our listeners, like, say, hey, here's 2 things that you can start working on right now that will help you remove self-doubt.
Okay, so I would say to listeners, go back to a time when you were certain, you were clear, you were driven. Because there's a time in everybody's life, no exceptions, when you were absolutely brilliant and you were successful. Go to that time and
Mm.
define who you are from that time. Create an I am statement from that. So, listeners who stay to the end of this program, I'm going to offer you chapter 2 of my book. It's called Set to Win, the Neuroscience of Your Entrepreneurial Success. Chapter 2 will take you right through that process of finding that moment where you were brilliant. You were operating, maybe, David, at 100% genius, creative, maybe 100%, but 98%, excuse me, is good enough for me. But, create that statement because that's who you are. Some of my clients say to me, well, Katarina, that was 20 years ago. I'm not that person anymore. Yes, you are. Don't ever deny that.
Mm.
You still are that. And it doesn't matter what age you are, you're still that. So that's one thing. Did you ask for 2?
Yeah, give us 2. Give us a bonus. One more.
Okay. Another thing I would say is be willing to look at how you sabotage yourself. Look at your worst habits. Do you procrastinate?
Mm.
You know, do you sit and watch Netflix when you know there are things that you need to do in your business? Do you say, well, I'm not going to exercise today because I just don't feel like it. Push yourself a little. I know you push yourself 100%, but at least push yourself to do 10 minutes of exercise. If you can run. Don't walk, run for 10 minutes. It will change, it will shift your energy. Run up and down stairs for 10 minutes. It'll make a difference. I would
Mm.
say do that every single day because focus and energy create your reality, create your business results. Focus what you focus on, so your I am statement, and then push yourself a little bit. Just 10 minutes a day. Go out and run. Run like crazy, like a child.
I love it. So tell our listeners how best way to get in touch with you. I know you mentioned your book or you have a tool available, right, for entrepreneurs.
Right. Yes. I mean, the whole book takes you right through the entrepreneurial blueprint. But I'm offering chapter 2 for free. So if you go to my LinkedIn account, do you have my LinkedIn?
Did you send it to me? If you send it to me in the bio, we'll make sure we add it to the show notes. Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm Katarina Hanssens Carlsson, but on LinkedIn I'm Catherine Carlsson.
I
But
see it now.
Either way, you can find me. And if you send me a message with the word persist, that's the code, PERSIST, I will certainly send you chapter 2 of my book. It's coming out soon. It's going to be an ebook, and it can take you right through the whole process.
Awesome. Perfect. I am actually on LinkedIn now, so I'll connect with you as soon as we're done here.
Okay.
I also want to let people know about our new AI tool. I'm really excited about. So make sure you go to my site, which is davidhill.ai, and you can actually get a free demo of one of our AI agents. Like all you can do is call this phone number 774-214-2076. Call it now and test it out. You can ask it whatever question you want, tell it about your business, and you'll be blown away. That can be your new receptionist. You'll never miss a phone call again, or even if you want to set it up so if somebody calls you in the middle of the night where everybody else is sleeping, it can have a conversation with somebody and convert them into a client and customer. So again, davidhill.ai, 774-214-2076. All right, Katarina, thank you again for joining us today. I do have a final question for you, though. I want to talk about the purpose. So I feel like, we talked about the doubt. If somebody's like, I need to figure out my purpose, I would tell them, obviously, connect with you, take advantage of that 4-hour session with you or workshop to find it. What's one thing you can give them right now, though, so they can start thinking about their purpose?
About the purpose. Once you find your purpose, and your purpose, what is your purpose? It's when you're totally aligned with who you are. You've reinvented your sabotage strategy because it's your sabotage strategy points you the wrong way. Now, when you turn that around, it points you the right way. It'll give you absolutely the answer to your success strategy. It's amazing how that works. So when you know your established identity, we talked about, a moment in your past, your established identity, your reinvented identity. Most of my clients, once they get to that, and that can take 2 hours to actually figure that out, because you have to go really deep. They go, oh my God, Katarina, I could do this. And that's their purpose. That's what they want to do. And it could be just for 5 years. It could be the rest of their lives. But it's based on the alignment of their identity. So if you know who you are, absolutely, and you've reinvented yourself to be 100%, not 90, 80%, you've been 100%, then you can do it because you're powerful. And then you're going to persist all the way through.
I feel like when I'm in my purpose, I am at 100%. And doing the things I love doing, I just feel like it's just happening without me having any extra effort. It's just like I can be in front of a room of 200 people and just absolutely flowing. You know what I mean? It's just as opposed to being in my head, right? Like to me, that's one of the big differences. If I'm having to think through everything, as opposed to being in kind of a free flow environment where things are happening and the right things,
Yeah. Because you know who you are, David. You have certainty. You have drive. You've been through all the challenges, right? And you've learned from them. And now your greatness, it sounds like an arrogant word, but your greatness is there. Your presence is there. Your driving purpose is there, and you don't have to work at it. It's there. It's just there because it belongs to you. It's always been there.
Yeah,
right?
and that's everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody, for everybody listening today, that's the message for you. That you're right. It is.
And everybody's totally unique. There's so many people who are digital marketers, who are or coaches or whatever, but be different, be an individual, be yourself, and you will succeed. Absolutely.
Can I give you an amen on that one? Thank you. I got to throw an amen in there. All right. Listen, I appreciate you. Oh, you know what? There was one thing that you mentioned before we started recording. And I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up. Spiritual, you mentioned it actually, if it was all right to talk about spirituality. So, and kind of like, we are wrapping up, but why did you ask me that question? And why is that important?
Well, it's a deep question, David, because, when we're spiritually driven, we are on fire. We can be driven and not feel like we're spiritually driven. So then we're not absolutely clear, absolutely certain. But when we're spiritually driven, when we're spiritually connected and we get ideas and we follow through with those ideas, we're told what to do. For example, the Entrepreneurial Blueprint consultation was given to me. It was just saying, do this, do this, do this. So I just did it. When we're like that, we are unstoppable. So that's what I have to say about spirituality. It's nothing to do with going to church or being religious or obeying the laws, or, there's the so-called religious laws. It's about your core belief, your soul, your spirit. When you are soul-driven, spirit-driven, you're unstoppable.
Amen. Well, I appreciate you, listeners. I want you to go out, grab yourself a copy of the book, also Katarina's book. And again, I'll drop down below in the show notes the link to her LinkedIn channel, so you can connect with her that way. And thank you guys again for listening. Katarina, thank you for being here today. I appreciate you pouring into our audience.
Thank you. One more thing to listeners. David is 100% podcaster. So give him 5 stars, because that's what he does.
Thank you.
All right. And he's with you. He's for you. So I appreciate you, David. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's the encouragement. It's always nice to hear. It's funny though, when you think about this is probably episode 440 for me, and I've probably done 500 episodes. Took a long time to just be okay with what's happening, as opposed to, and I think for a lot of us listening, sometimes, what do you think? We have to go through a process to get where we are, and sometimes maybe expectation is, maybe, wow, I should be able to do that. But I've only done it 2 or 3 times. Maybe you shouldn't. Right. But the certainty helps though, because even if you're certain on something and you're really confident in it, like my 7-year-old, man, I got to end this because we're going to keep going all day. I apologize. But my 7-year-old is just so confident and so certain. And I just don't ever want her to lose that. She does competition dance, and she's just amazing.
Is she an entrepreneur?
Well, she's 7, so
some start at 7, some at 6, some at 8.
That's a great question. That's a really good question.
You can ask her.
I love that.
Yes, and she may say, "Well, I haven't figured it out yet, but I am an entrepreneur." I think most children will say yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that. It's a great. All 3 of my daughters are amazing, and my oldest daughter is massively successful, and 3 grandchildren, and my middle daughter's amazing. And but my little daughter Penelope has just got this thing about her where she just will do anything. She'll go in front of her room, start dancing. She's amazing with cartwheels and flips, and she's got something going on that's different.
Congratulations, David.
Thank
You've done
you.
a great job, and you haven't said no to your daughters. You've got 3 daughters, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And they feel confident and clear and certain with you. My dad loves me, so I can do almost whatever I like, but I can be creative. So they're operating from 98% creative genius or 100%. So
I love it.
great job. Well done.
All right. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you again for your time today. Thanks for the encouragement. And I hope everybody reaches out to you and connects with you.
Thank you so much, David.